It's weird because that happened right as I pressed the button last
Yeah,
time.
I know.
All right.
Killed by a cat. Yeah, that Sortie Quest Gamecast that we recorded actually was longer than I thought it was going to be.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But it was fun.
How long was it?
I don't have exact details, but...
All right, are we live?
Yeah.
We are live.
While we're recording.
We're recording, but are we on YouTube?
We're on both.
Okay.
I'm going to post quickly to Twitter, and we will get rolling.
Cool.
Won't IFTTT do that or not?
We didn't set that up for accessibility.
Oh. I don't know what channel we're on anymore. I never know these days.
Accessibopolis.
Aww.
I hope y'all have picks.
I do.
Why you say that, Michael?
Well, because we're going to be having picks today. And so, I hope y'all have picks.
Well, you already know what my pick's going to be. I already picked the AirPods last time.
Dang Skippy.
Dang Skippy indeed. Oh. Please upload book at some point.
You just gave your pick away.
No, I didn't.
No.
Oh.
It's a saying.
Yep.
Actually, it's not
It's actually a
quite
more
the saying,
family-friendly version of the saying.
Right.
I was gonna say, yeah, we don't want to get taken off YouTube.
No, you can curse and all that on YouTube. It's just we choose not to do that on our channel.
Yep.
No.
Actually, there's a song whose lyric has the phrase "smoother than a fresh John Skippy." I'd never heard of a John Skippy before that song, but
Me either. Didn't even know that was the lyric.
yep. It's what is that? It's what is it? I can only think of the stupid Harry Potter title.
I know what you're talking
Uptown
about.
Funk You Up.
Yeah.
Or Uptown Funk by
Yeah.
whoever that's by.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. Are we ready, folks?
Yes, we are.
Yes, because I need food after this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I need to go to a meeting. So.
Yep. So let's rock and roll. All
let's do
right.
this thing.
Now, take iACast 165. Take 2. We tried to put up a stream earlier, and Jason's cat stepped on his HomePod and played music right when I pressed the button. I mean, right when I pressed the button. So, all right, let's do this.
Yep.
3.
We aren't pop stars, but we're podcast stars.
Right. So, 3, 2, 1. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the iACast. All right. Today with me, I have Taylor Arndt
Hello, everyone.
and Jason Earls.
Hello, everyone.
All right. So today we have a very packed episode. We're going to keep it to an hour or less, which is good. But we have a lot of news, and we have some big topics to talk about. So we're going to start with our news, and our news is actually all about iAccessibility related stuff. And that is, we're going to be changing the format of this podcast quite a bit. There'll still be a lot of tech related stuff, but after today, you may hear other accessibility related content on this show. So everything from cooking to healthcare to anything safety. Does that kind of sound familiar? Like hands-on safety?
Yeah.
We're gonna have news and different discussions from our other podcasts in our news section. What are y'all's thoughts on this?
Well, sounds great. Considering that, we all talked about it yesterday, and it's a really great idea. So I'm glad that we're finally bringing it to the community.
Yeah, I think it's a very exciting opportunity for more listeners to hear our other shows and who may not have heard them yet, and I think it'll be fun.
Yep, and we're gonna do a lot better as far as making sure we have good content. We're going to in our discussions, we're gonna make them more discussions instead of asking like a panelist questions. So I think that will be a lot better. I'm just kind of interested in what we're going to be able to provide on this show going forward, because it's going to be much more. It's going to be a lot more of a show about accessibility and not as much about the new and up and coming tech. We'll still talk about that, I'm sure, but seeing as there's not always new and up and coming tech all the time, and if you want to learn about new and up and coming tech, the cutting edge and what's new in that, there's this other little show that we do on YouTube called Techopolis Live, and the link to that channel is in our show notes now every week. So we'll actually be adding a lot more content to that feedback section for our other shows on the iACast network. So it's really, really exciting.
Yep.
So, and we'll finally, hopefully, be able to recognize the dream of a podcast episode of the iACast where we have other people as hosts other than just me. That would be awesome. So the neat thing about this, though, is you're going to have a lot more content. It's not just going to be, here's the latest, here's how to use different to-do list apps. It's not going to be how to use different things like that. It's going to be more of a dynamic, these are the things that are involved with accessibility all over. So, we may even have different guests and people like that, and other content coming out on the show. But today's kind of our last day, and we're here to talk about everything related to Windows 365, and I'm really excited about this. And Jason, you were on our stream earlier today on the Techopolis channel and Taylor's Tech Talks.
And the Facebook channel and my LinkedIn.
We were
and
all
like
over
a
the
bunch other
place.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was on the stream earlier. I don't think I caught the whole thing, but I caught, a large chunk of it, I would say. I have to say it's kind of interesting. Like, there's just something about the format change. Like, this is nowhere near our last episode, but I'm just like, I'm so sad. I have to talk about Windows. No, I'm kidding. But
so yeah, I mean, it is interesting, and this kind of goes into the new format because this is talking about making the accessibility of Windows 365, and in some cases the lack thereof, unfortunately. We got Windows 365 the day it came out.
Yep.
And in ways I love it, and I'm sure Taylor you love it as well. So as a you have an announcement about new hardware that you got that you talked about on the stream, but also talk about your experiences with it and explain why you have to use Windows 365.
Well, y'all, basically, I need to rely on Windows 365 now. So here's the deal. Basically, my job is doing a lot of accessibility testing. That's great. Before I did this whole Mac thing, I had a Lenovo that was my primary device. Unfortunately, that Lenovo has reached the end of its usable life. And as a result, I have one machine, which is a Mac. A Mac is great, but unfortunately, I still have to have Windows for my Windows-related stuff. And while virtual machines and all that kind of fun stuff are fine, for one thing, my old Mac wasn't as powerful as it needed to be in order to run my professional workload. The other thing in that manner was that VMware Fusion was kind of a pain, which is the other virtualization software. And then we have Parallels, which is another one of those which is actually completely inaccessible. And so Windows 365, when that came out, after we tried a whole bunch of other myriad options from Windows Server and a whole bunch of other things, Windows 365 was great, although there are still some issues that we have to work out. But as a result, I only have one computer, so Windows 365 is all I have. So that's kind of the story about that.
And so, you've been using it, and what are some things that you're doing with it as far as, and you said accessibility testing, but what software programs have you used with it?
Well, currently I have NVDA on it. I'm going to install JAWS, although I'm not really holding off, but I kind of am just because, JAWS can kind of be a hog, and I don't know how it's going to work. I also have some other things on there, because some websites and stuff just work better with Windows, right? But some work better with Mac, and so that's why I almost believe that you should have both operating systems available to you if possible, so then you can kind of maximize the accessibility of the web. However, with that being said, I have a lot of, like I said, my software on there. For one thing, Descript, which is our little transcription editing tool for podcasts and other content for Taylor's Tech Talks, because that's only accessible on the Windows side. And I just have other software like that may be only Windows specific or may work better with Windows as well.
Yeah, so we found some interesting things with this, and using it on the browser is completely useless as far as accessibility. Well,
yeah.
Not completely.
No,
well,
it's not. No, actually, Michael, it's not, because remember that day, Wednesday, I actually, believe it or not, had to do a training using Windows 365 with Google Chrome. So one of my clients, I had to do a training, basically, teaching them some stuff about WordPress. And Windows 365 on my remote desktop kept crashing. And I'm like, oh, great. It's 10 minutes before the training. This is not going to end well for me. So I ended up throwing up Windows 365 in my browser. And it's not that great of an experience, but I was able to at least do my training with some exceptions. One thing I couldn't pass the F11 key for NVDA remote, which is kind of a problem. But, other than some of those limitations, at that time I did have an NVDA key because I had Carabiner, which did work. But, yeah, which Carabiner is like a key mapper program for Mac.
And one of the other problems is that if
no Windows key though.
Right, you don't have a Windows key, you have to use Control Escape. But also, if you use Safari, there is no sound at all.
Oh yeah, so don't even try.
And that also includes on iOS, folks. So, I think Microsoft needs to iron out a few more features. Jason, what are your thoughts hearing all this so far? And I mean, you know this already, but you've heard all this before. But what are your thoughts so far?
I think it's very promising, Windows 365. I do think it's sad that things aren't as ironed out as they should be. Things like not having sound when you use Windows 365 in the browser. Things like the inability to be able to pass specific keys through to the operating system. But I feel like these are things that can be fixed in the future, and hopefully they are fixed before Windows 365 rolls out for consumer use.
Oh yeah.
But I do think it's sad, but at the same time, it's something that seems like it should be fixable, and hopefully will be, and then it will be a much nicer experience for people.
Right, and the one thing I'll give Microsoft is they are not charging people right now. This is a trial.
Correct, for 2 months.
Right, which is a long trial. Let's be real. That is a long trial period. So I'm giving them a lot of props for that. That's really nice.
But they might want to have some more capacity, though.
Right. They had to stop allowing people to sign up for it. Funny thing is, it still shows that I can add more virtual PCs to my... unless they've started up again, but it still shows I can add virtual PCs.
But I wonder if it's for new accounts, remember? Because you already have a license, so I'm wondering if it's for, new... account in general. Or
I don't
rather,
know.
I should say new organizations.
Right. I'm not sure.
Right. That's because, that would be bad if, let's say you go to your Zoom meeting when, with their company and they're like, oh, we need to add a new virtual PC. Microsoft won't allow us to do that, whereas they wouldn't allow new organizations to sign up, but they'd probably get a lot more, criticism if they would not allow existing companies to add new PCs because, employees and stuff change all the time, so they have to be able to provision new stuff for them.
Right. And, going forward, this is going to be the only way you're going to be able to really use Windows on the Mac.
Right.
Or on iPad or on Chromebooks. We're not even able to test how they work on Chromebooks, but how it works on iPad right now is not good.
No.
And,
not at all.
Unfortunately, it's not like you could just go, well, unless somebody knows a workaround to this. But it's not like you could go, well, the Microsoft Remote Desktop program is terrible. I'm going to use Jump Desktop or Parallels Client or any of the others. Nope.
Not allowed.
You need to be able to use a workspace, as they call it.
Yep.
And connect to a workspace, which is I feel like it's kind of like a remote RSS feed for computers.
Yeah, you can think about it that way. I mean, it could kind of be like that. Or in that sense, like I said, it's almost like your own computer URL, right?
Well, I think it's not just a computer's URL. It's your whole or all of your allowed computers. Right. Because I think they even said enter the feed URL. I think I actually saw that somewhere.
Did you? Okay, I wasn't paying that close attention. My first goal was I want to get this thing set up because I needed it ASAP.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, my biggest suggestion is, while you may need something ASAP, read all, as much as you can. I was reading through this stuff just because I wanted to know, why this works the way it does. And there's still a lot of documentation I haven't read yet, but I went through even before, because one of the neat things is while you're provisioning your computer, which you have to do by going to it in the browser first, but while you're provisioning your computer, you can go through and read a lot of information on there and change some settings and things like that as you're setting up.
Which I did, but yeah.
So, Jason, is it? If you had unlimited funding, is this something you would use, or would you just want to get a computer?
I think for the things that I use Windows for, for the things that I would want to use Windows for, let's be honest, I would probably just want to get my own computer because I don't know that I would need to access it enough to warrant paying a subscription fee. And I don't know that I would need to access it, frequently enough to warrant paying that subscription fee. I feel like there would be, maybe weeks or months for me not needing to use it, and I would feel like I would just be throwing money away, whereas at least a computer is more of a one-time purchase than a subscription would be. Not to mention, if I needed to use something like Audacity, for instance, in Windows, the latency over the connection it's probably fine for things like speech and for things like Descript and whatever, but if you're trying to actually edit audio in a workstation or a program, you're going to have passed where you are in the track by the time you hear it. So for that, I would want, definitely a dedicated machine.
Right. And the one thing about it is that, and I'm going to play devil's advocate. It's interesting when you look at $31 a month for the low end. You times that by 12, you're looking at nearly $400 a year. Now, the interesting thing about that is that if you really think about now at that rate, at the $31, you're getting a bottom of the barrel version of this. So, I'm paying for the $45, which is the 8 gigs of RAM and 2 CPU cores, which is not great either. But it does the job. It runs Visual Studio like a dream. It does everything you would imagine. But if you think about, licensing Windows, licensing everything you need, and paying for a pretty good computer yearly, paying for it each year, it's about the same. If you really think about it like that, you're just investing in a new computer each year, but by the month.
That's true, but if you get a decent enough computer, that computer can last you for several years anyway.
You're right.
And you, depending on the machine you have, you might be able to upgrade some of its parts down the road. Now, I'm, not here to say that Windows 365 is a bad service just because it's not a fit for me, because I do definitely see its advantages. I actually like the idea of, somebody who's, say, using a Chromebook, needing to access some Windows applications and being able to do that with 365. Also, I could have sworn I saw that their starting price was like $20-something. Is it 31?
Starting price is 20, but it's using what's called the Windows Hybrid benefit, where you basically have your own copy of Windows that you also use your key for to lower the price.
Now, is that like a digital license key, or does it have to be like a... Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yep. That's how they're doing that. But, the other thing is that we found that, it works really, efficiently, but at times I have seen it sometimes stutter and, Now, the interesting thing is the upload and download speeds are very interesting.
Oh, yeah.
We ran a speed test and the download rate was 575 megabits. The upload speed, though, was over a gigabit. Now, that's usually the opposite. Right? I mean, it was so weird.
Yeah, and if I remember correctly, I was there when you ran that speed test, and it was like 3-point-something gigabits up, which is, like you said, very strange, because you're right. Normally your download speeds are going to be the faster speeds from your ISPs and stuff. That's definitely the case here with T-Mobile's internet service, and it was, the case with Comcast when I had essentially Spectrum. It was the case there too. So,
right. So it's really interesting. But, narrator works. It will read out loud. It can do all the things, but you just can't get to a narrator key. And if you're doing this on iPad, forget it.
Yeah.
Forget it right now. Pressing tab goes between the different elements of the window, and the arrow keys move you out of the window entirely. So, no keyboard access on the Magic Keyboard, at least. Unless there's something I don't know. But looking at Visual Studio, it reads everything. But one of the neatest things, though, that does work is touch gestures. So if I'm on the iPad, and this might be how Microsoft intends you to do it. If you have NVDA or narrator running, you can use touch gestures to do all the things that you would do on a touchscreen computer. And that's really neat, guys. That is really cool.
Yeah, that really is. I mean, obviously you just have to learn those, right? But once you get the hang of them, I think that could be really cool.
Yeah, I would agree, because I've, my iPad has made, well, I don't have my iPad anymore, but it really showed me the advantages of having a touchscreen, bigger screen to navigate on and really learn the interface. And I've talked about this before on previous shows, but being able to do that in Windows would be interesting. My current PC is not touch-enabled by any means. And I assume then what you would have to do is, in the case of the iPad, I assume you would have to disable VoiceOver in order to have the touch gestures pass through to Windows.
Probably.
Yeah, probably.
I'm not sure.
That wouldn't work otherwise, probably.
Yeah. And it wouldn't be that hard to do. It's just, an extra step people...
Although it did overwrite iPad OS's zoom gesture, which I thought was interesting.
That's funny. I mean, because on the Mac, though, I do have to disable VoiceOver for
right.
remote desktop.
because we found a bug when you started up for the first time that we demonstrated today.
Yes, it's a very bad bug, and it's something that needs to be fixed.
When you open remote desktop for the first time and connect, if you, it will not, it may even crash remote desktop.
Oh, it will crash remote desktop. May is out of the question. It will crash remote desktop.
With voiceover on.
Yep,
So,
and we've been able to replicate on multiple machines.
Yep. So, there is some issues with this. Microsoft really needs to do some work on remote desktop for Mac. Otherwise, though, I think this is going to be a very solid service. There was another point I wanted to bring up. The neat thing is we did have, we were listening to chat messages from an iPad using remote desktop and the Restream chat program. That was really neat.
It was.
I will tell you that Zoom, if you're in a Zoom meeting, will make the audio on the remote desktop go way down, so keep that in mind. So those are some things to keep in mind with that. And also, we had a hard time getting sharp keys. We have not gotten that to work to remap keys, that and auto hotkey. So if anybody has any luck with that, let us know, because we would love to play with that and to let people know.
But I'm almost thinking that Carabiner, if we can ever get that thing to work, that's probably going to be our best option. Because I was able to get an NVDA key in Windows 365 on my Intel Mac.
Right. It's just not bringing whenever. So have you seen this happen, Jason, when you go and like a program would not bring up the permissions, like it needs input access, I believe.
Input monitoring.
Input monitoring, and it won't put all the applications it needs in that list. So that's fun.
Yeah, I think I've seen that actually once with, maybe a little more than once, but I think it's happened to me with Team Talk. And I had to go in and manually enable. Actually, I think I had to uninstall it and reinstall it in order to give me the microphone access prompt, because it wasn't showing up in the app category inside system preferences, so I could enable it.
Right.
But honestly, I think Carabiner was probably going to be our best bet, because I was able to get it to work before I switched to this new Mac. But it's just trying to get...
And they do say they support M1 Macs.
They do.
So that might be our best bet. We just now need to get it working for iPad, and I think it will be a very good platform.
But can't you run... Well, it's not an actual Mac app, is it, Michael? I was going to say, can't you run Mac apps on the iPad? But...
No.
Unfortunately not. Yeah,
That
the closest you could come to that would be Sidecar, and that's only to use the iPad as a secondary display, I believe.
And as a touchscreen, yeah.
And as a touchscreen, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that, but...
So, one thing that is really neat that I've seen is really the sound quality. Like you can play some stuff that sounds really good on there, and you can install different apps. You can it can use your microphone and camera, and a remote desktop. So you get a lot of the features, and there's not a lot of lag. There's some. Especially if you use it in the browser, there's a lot.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Lots of lag.
So it just, depends on how you use it. Will determine your mileage.
Yep.
So, Jason, if you could use it, what would you use it for?
I would probably use it for... I would definitely want to try out Descript. I would also use it for situations where I would need Windows access specifically to do what I'm doing, because it wouldn't work in situations where it doesn't work well with macOS. So for instance, if I were to go to a website that VoiceOver refused to read, said it was a empty, almost said HTML content, they call it a web area now. I would then use the Windows PC for that. Beyond that, I'm not really all that sure what I would use it for, to be honest.
Okay. And Taylor, what would so I know what you use it for currently. Is there anything else you would use it for that you're not currently using it for?
I don't know. I'm using it basically as my main Windows computer, so, I don't know. I mean, because it is my only Windows system at the moment, so, yeah.
And you've used it for, YouTube chat and other things, so
I have,
you've gotten a lot out of it already, so.
I have, and it's like I said, without it, basically my operations for my company would come to a standstill.
Right.
So, we have that as well.
I'm going to probably keep it just for Visual Studio alone because it makes Visual Studio a breeze to work with on touchpads. So to me, that's almost worth it altogether because sometimes Visual Studio does not work well on a trackpad. So
yeah, and obviously I'm going to have to keep it because, well, I rely on it. So we do have that. Although it'd be nice if Microsoft fixes some things because it's usable. But it'd be nice if they would fix a couple things.
Right. So all in all, I think it's a great platform. And, you could use Chrome on it. You can have your Chrome profiles. You can use Office. You do need Office 365.
Business Premium.
Business Premium, yes, to use the Office app. So keep that in mind. That's a $20 charge per month. So you're looking at $65 just to have Windows 365 if you want a good machine with Office. So it's not cheap.
No.
It's not
but
cheap
like I said, not cheap at all. But I wonder how that's going to work when they bring it to personal use. Because I don't think a lot of consumers are going to go buy Business Premium, are they?
I doubt it. I bet it's going to start at $15 a month. I bet you that will be the cost.
Right, but I'm sure they will not have good specs or whatever. It'll be for personal use, right? It'll probably have Windows Home on it or something.
Possibly. We'll have to see.
I mean, that would only make sense as it's for home use.
We would have to see. So, do you guys we're going to make it a shorter show today. Do you guys have any final comments about all of this? I mean, I dare to ask, do you think Apple would do anything like this?
No.
I do not see Apple doing this because that would lessen people's need to buy Apple hardware. And of course, Apple being as integrated as they are, they would probably argue against it as well for the same reason they've argued against some other things. Not being able to control the full experience since the operating system would be running on non-Apple controlled hardware.
But I guess if you look at it, this is what Mac Stadium is doing.
Yeah.
And, you could get a Mac Stadium computer at $60 a month.
That's true, but Mac Stadium is still running Mac OS on a Mac.
Right. Well, Windows is running Windows.
Well, right. Yeah, it's running
yeah,
Windows
I guess
on
that's
Windows.
true, but it's... Well,
you get a dedicated machine, unlike this, where you're getting a shared experience.
Yeah, I guess that's true. So maybe if they did it, they would do dedicated machines and stuff, but at this point, I would be kind of surprised if they did it.
Mm-hmm.
But it would be very interesting to see, if they chose to do it, how they implemented their answer to Windows 365. Also, I wonder what they would call it.
Gosh, guys, part of me wants to do a comparison. I have not ran a speed test on the Mac. But I think it's limited to one gigabit up and down instead of the 3 that we saw on going up.
Oh, really?
But yeah, but also I'm kind of wondering. Well, I I guess it would cost about the same. I was like, I wonder how well running a Minecraft server on Windows 365 would go.
Right, and I was just thinking too, if Microsoft decided, we already know they're going to open this up to consumers. I'm assuming that the consumer version is not necessarily going to see the same bandwidth that the professional version of this will see.
I don't know. Why not?
But maybe.
Why not? I mean,
just giving higher priority access to their professional customers, right? I could see that being a thing.
But, if you look at it, they're not running Windows Server. You're not getting a Windows Server contained experience. You're getting a Windows 10 experience with this. So, that's kind of a difference there, too. It's even though this is for business owners, it's more for small business and enterprise. But I don't know. I think it'd be very, very interesting to see what we get.
Yeah, definitely. And, like I said before, I really like the idea that somebody with something like a Chromebook could pay for this and get access to all the Windows stuff that they needed without having to worry about emulation and all that other stuff. So
also, if you're worried that, okay, I need a business account, I bought all my apps on my personal account, I can't get all my Windows apps that are paid for, my movies and my TV. Don't worry. Even though you're logged in with your business account, there is a spot for your personal account. So you can log into the Windows Store with both your business and personal account on Windows 365. So you are covered there. So it's a great experience. You can run everything that you run on your home computer on there. And I guess it's running x86. It's not an ARM. So, cool stuff. So that's going to do it for our talk today. We'll be back with, our new stuff in 2 weeks. But to end us off today, Jason, what is your pick of the week and where can people find you online?
So my pick for the week is a book series that Michael picked, and it's all his fault. Expeditionary Force by Craig Allenson. That is so amazing. I'm almost at the end, sadly. I still need to read book 10. But I think book 10 is the one I need to start now. But it's really, really good. I mean, okay, you could argue that it's a little bit, cheesy in some aspects, if you will, but I don't care. I like the goofiness of it. And
it's a stress-relieving book series.
It really is a stress-relieving book series. But it's basically Earth is attacked by some aliens, and they have some allies. And you find out that things aren't quite as they seem. Michael, I guess that's a vague enough description.
Yep.
But it's read by R.C. Bray, who is amazing. He was the reader of The Martian. So, yeah.
Originally, yeah,
that's right. I forgot Will Wheaton read it. Does a version of it now. But, yeah, so if you can get a hold of it, I think it might be available on both Audible and Google Books, but I'm not sure about Google Books.
And Apple, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, yeah, that too. But definitely... Great series.
This is one of those situations where I do not recommend the Bard versions.
No, I don't recommend the Bard version. And not only that, but Bard doesn't have the entire series. I think they only have the first 4. They might actually have books 5 and 6, but I don't believe they have the entire series either.
Oh, that's a fail.
Yeah, that makes me sad. But anyway, people can find me producing content for iAccessibility. You can email me at jason@iaccessibility.net, and you can also find me on Twitter at JDE91. That is Juliet Delta Echo 91. And I know it's very rare, but if you do happen to see me on Clubhouse, feel free to say hi.
All right. And Taylor, what's your pick for the week, and where can people find you online?
Well, remember how I was hinting at this new hardware that I have? Well, I think it's time for me to explain. Thursday, more accurately Wednesday night, my Intel Mac decided, well, you know what? I'm done. I'm not going to do anymore. My life is over. time for Taylor to buy a new Mac. So, because we had a whole bunch of issues. For one thing, the display had a bunch of issues. It had like a disconnected cable and a whole bunch of other things.
So, would you say Taylor had an iLife crisis?
I guess so.
You know what? I don't think Taylor used Macs when they had iLife.
Yeah.
No, but I've heard of it.
You have heard of it? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So you get my terrible joke.
Yeah, I do. I've heard of it. So either way, we had a problem because keep in mind that in order to generate income, I have to have a good system, right? I work online and I do everything online, so not having a functional computer was not an option. And I needed one rather quickly, as I had a lot of things to be done. So, not knowing that Apple wouldn't have it in stock till August 20th or later, and not knowing, well, obviously knowing this, but my Apple store is about 40, 50 miles away, and I was not going to go take a Greyhound bus to go get it. Instead, Michael had the great idea to check Best Buy. Luckily, the store that I needed, which was close to me, had it, the configuration I wanted, and I could pick it up within 1 hour. But because the Best Buy was only doing curbside pickup, I literally went into a Lyft, got the Mac, which is a 512 SSD M1 MacBook Pro with 8 gigs of RAM. And it is really awesome. And yeah, and I was able to do that. Literally, they just gave me the computer. I had to show a code, and then I literally went on my way in the Lyft. So, yeah, I came back with a computer the same day. And
yeah, that kind of describes me getting my HomePod.
Yeah, it works really well. I'm super happy. So my pick for this week is the M1 MacBook Pro. Absolutely love it. And you can find me producing content for iAccessibility. You can also find me on a whole bunch of other places. Taylor's Tech Talks has an official Facebook and Twitter now. So Taylor's Tech Talks, if you're not aware, is my show. I do a lot of WordPress tutorials, accessibility reviews, and whatever else we want to do. You know, a Techopolis Live episode was streamed there yesterday, or actually today. And, you know, lots of different things. So, if you want to follow me on Twitter, Tays Tech Talks, so Tays, Tech Talks, on Twitter. And Facebook, you can search for Taylor's Tech Talks. And, yeah, you can find me there. You can also find my personal Twitter at Taylor_Arnt22. And you can find me producing content for iAccessibility, and you can email me at taylor@iAccessibility.net. And yeah, those are some places. Of course, I'm on Clubhouse, but again, very rarely, just because I am busy. So yeah, you can find me on those places and just all over the web. If you can't remember that, you can probably search for me and you can find me. So, yep, that is kind of pick and content or information.
Yep.
And of course, we'll be linking to Taylor's Tech Talks in the show notes, as well as Techopolis.
And I'm sure if you look on the iAccessibility channel, it will probably show up Taylor's Tech Talks in one of the suggested videos.
Yep. All right. So, my pick for this week is also involving the M1 chip, but not a Mac. It's the new iPad, the iPad Pro 12.9 inch. And I want to take a minute and talk about this. If you are a blind user of iOS, the iPad Pro 2021 is the device for you. It has a new button in the camera app to zoom in and out with they call it the selfie cam. And it makes it to where it's easier to get yourself in frame. It will tell you how to get yourself in frame. And it makes great, amazing pictures. Really cool stuff. And on iOS, in Zoom and FaceTime, it has a feature called Center Stage. And I'm wondering what other apps will support this. I'm hoping different ones. But basically, you can be on a broadcast to YouTube with Zoom, or on a FaceTime call, or in a Zoom meeting, or anything else, and have Center Stage on. And it was neat because I would go and look at my microphone, and the camera would pan to the left and bring the microphone in view while I was talking on it. Then I'd go look away, still point at the camera so it looks like I'm looking at people, but as I would be moving to my right, the camera would move with me and the microphone would go off screen. So weird, so strange. You know, because nothing in the actual iPad is moving. There's no motor. The iPad's just stationary. But the fact that it can do that is mind-boggling. Like, how does it do that? I mean, they've really put some amazing technology in the iPad's camera. So, and that's also in the iMac as well, which means you have that in Mac OS, which means you have a lot more options to use those kind of things. So there's that, the new screen 5G on an iPad, which also does, believe it or not, improve your Wi-Fi. Stuff downloaded much faster for me yesterday. I had all my apps downloaded on my iPad in less than an hour, which was insane. The sound is just as good as the other iPads. The screen is much better. I have already managed to kill the battery in it once.
That's nice.
And I found a bug with the iOS 15 beta where if you plug it into the keyboard, the Magic Keyboard, and try to charge it, it does not. The screen came on, but it didn't light up. So I don't know what happened there. That was strange. So, yeah, it's very incredible, folks. Really amazing iPad. So, if you're looking for a new iPad, this is the one to go with right now. As for where people can find me, you can find me producing content for iAccessibility and Techopolis online. You can email me at Mike Doise, that's MikeDoise, at iAccessibility.net. You can follow me on Twitter as Mike Doise and on Facebook, Michael Doise. I'm occasionally on Clubhouse and all over the place, so make sure to say hi. And, subscribe to this channel and also subscribe to Techopolis Online so that you can, be alerted when we have these shows and the Techopolis shows. And I hope that, we have, people come out and talk with us. We're going to have new forums at iAccessibility. It's going to be all new and everything. It's going to be shiny and a new community website. So we hope that people really enjoy it. So make sure to be checking back with us. We're going to have all kinds of updates. And we also have something really cool that the app does now. Anytime there's a new post on the iAccessibility's website, you will get it as a push notification in our app, which is some really neat integration. So I love it. But that's going to do it for this episode. Taylor's got to run here pretty soon.
Yep,
so
I sure do.
We will go ahead and get taken care of, and we will see you next time for another iACast episode. So thanks, everybody, and we'll see you next time.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys.
Everyone.
Woo!
Whoa.